Hard of the city where the lights grow dim. Grit and grind, every inch, every rim. From the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the grit, iron, report that the game's be.
Right, we are back. Okay, so like I said, we tried not to overanalyze the first preseason game. If we did, it's just because we finally got football back, and it's a kind of hard not to. But again, the main goal there was just like to give you guys enough ammunition to be like, oh yeah, did you see this guy did this guy played good, bad, whatever. And then moving forward in these last few final preseason games, just some names to look out for when you hear them on the TV, because no one's really analyzing that in depth. Some guys, if you hear their name, you can kind of focus on them, see how they're playing. So hopefully we were able to do that for you guys. But moving forward, let's play a little fact or fiction. So I have a few different statements here. We're going to go back and forth, and whether we think it's going to be fact or it's going to be fiction, debate them a little bit, and then, we'll work towards wrapping up the show with some grit of the week. So, fact or fiction, number 1, Jared Goff's career will be enough as it's on its current trajectory to get him into the Hall of Fame. So I think this was kind of, and as I was coming up with this one, I was a little bit, because my original thought was comparing him to Matt Stafford, because I think they're kind of at the same position right here, right now, as like when Stafford was when he left Detroit. I know Jared, I think it was last year, just officially passed his time of when he was in LA. He has been more so in Detroit than that. And then obviously Matthew kind of went off and had his Super Bowl run and MVP season, and he's definitely solidified himself as an MVP or a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I think Jared Goff is kind of at that same spot where, like, right here, right now, without that, Rams run that Stafford had, I think Jared Goff in the Hall of Fame is kind of up there when you break down his numbers and like think how many more years he has to play. Fact or fiction, he will be in the Hall of Fame when his career is all said and done.
I'm going fiction on this one. It's just, especially as a quarterback, man, like they're not just handing out Hall of Famers for the NFL. Like obviously it's still probably easier to get in the NFL Hall of Fame than it is like baseball, which is like impossible, but certainly a lot harder than like the NBA. So yeah, you got to be, I feel like at this point they're looking at Super Bowls. Like you can have all of the yards you want, and don't want to downplay that, by the way. Like last 4 seasons, basically, take out Jared's first season in Detroit when like we were literal dog shit. Last 4 seasons, he's basically floated at like 4,500 yards a season, just racking him up. He's about to pass 40,000 career yards in the NFL. So yeah, don't want to downplay that at all. Like he's a stat monster. He's extremely efficient. We know what he can do with his arm. I think until the Lions win a Super Bowl, and obviously it's the biggest if ever, as a Lions fan, we haven't even sniffed it. So yeah, I just feel like he's going to be outside looking in, even though, I mean, you look at, what is he, won 5 Pro Bowlers, he's been basically in the MVP conversation the last like year or two. Certainly in 2024, he was in that MVP conversation. Phenomenal career. I just feel like it's hard to become a Hall of Famer in the NFL, especially as a quarterback.
So, I mean, do you agree that like he's kind of in that same spot? Because I feel like all those, like you literally could have replaced Matt Stafford with, when you said Jared, like I feel like that was completely the same argument we were having with Matt Stafford when he was shipped off to LA, no?
Yeah, certainly. Like, yeah, if Stafford played his entire career as a Lion, never won the Super Bowl, obviously, kept up with the stats, I feel like he's probably in a better spot than Goff, just because his stats are even more insane. But it would have been tough. And then, obviously Stafford goes to LA, first season with them, wins the Super Bowl. It's a storybook, finish. Not finish. He's still obviously playing and slinging it. Now he's got the MVP. So yeah, I mean, it's a shoe-in now, but at the time when that trade happened, it was far from it for Stafford, I would say. So yeah, I think very, very similar. And Jared, he could still do it, obviously. Like, this team has Super Bowl aspirations. He is, I'm not going to say he's, a top 5 candidate to win NFL MVP, but he's not that far away. Like if he builds on the seasons that he's had, and let's say he, throws for 4,900 yards, we win a Super Bowl, and he could definitely win MVP. Like it could happen. So it's, it's not super far away, but right now I would say fiction. It's outside looking in right now for Goff in the Hall of Fame.
So I'm going to take the opposite. I'm going to say it's fact. So right now his career stats through 2025, entering this next season, 39,622 career passing yards, 256 career touchdowns to 102 interceptions, a 65.9% career completion percentage, 96.8 career passer rating, 5-time Pro Bowl, 48-33-1 record with the Lions, obviously with 4 consecutive winning seasons, 2 NFC North titles. He is number 1 in franchise history in passer rating with 101.3 for the Lions, and completion percentage was 67.9%. He's number 2 in Lions history in passing yards, 21,451, and touchdowns with 149. Excuse me. He's one of 6 quarterbacks in the NFL to throw for 100 touchdown passes and with multiple franchises. And then finally, I think like what kind of puts him there, and a lot could happen in the next few years. What puts him like right there, like on track if he continues this, is obviously if he wins the Super Bowl, he's in my opinion. But he needs about 10,000 more yards to reach 50,000 career passing yards, which is like kind of the common Hall of Fame benchmark a little bit. Which if he plays, 4 more seasons, I think that he could definitely. I mean, obviously, like you just mentioned, if he plays 3-4 more seasons, he's gonna hit that 50,000 career passing yards. And if that's the benchmark, like it's gonna be a lot closer than I think people think.
Hey, I don't doubt you, and I would love nothing more. If he's a Hall of Famer, that means that we most likely won a Super Bowl. It's just right now outside looking in, but like I said, a lot could change, and a lot could change quickly in this league.
Okay, so you're saying fiction, I'm saying fact on Jared Goff's career becoming enough at the end of the day to be in the Hall of Fame. Fact or fiction number 2. I think we're going to be on the same page here, and I think we might have even discussed this on a show when we were talking about the Lions' schedule for this upcoming year. Dan Campbell's firmly on the hot seat this upcoming season. Fact or fiction?
I don't know if we're leaning the same way, man. I'm definitely going fiction. I don't see him as being on the hot seat. I think I don't know if you're saying like a hypothetical if we have a bad season, but like I mean, certainly coming into this season, I don't think there's a hot seat at all. And that's just because like he has been, the leader of men that we really have never had from a Lions coach. This stretch that we've had, a 4-season stretch, like you said, 4 consecutive winning seasons, playoffs in 3 of those, NFC Championship game. Like none of those things have happened for the Lions in the last like 30 years. Like what in the 90s we went to the NFC Championship game. So like that alone, I think gives you a lot of grace. They've drafted very well, except for the horrendous 2024 draft. And again, it's not all on Campbell. That's probably more Brad Holmes. But like he's done so much that I feel like even if somehow the season doesn't go as planned, like I don't see this team losing more than like 8 games. So like yeah, I don't see a hot seat.
Okay, let me rephrase that just to clarify. So say we go 9-8 and miss the playoffs again, and we'll expand it a little bit. Then we go 9-8, miss the playoffs again. Are Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes on the hot seat? You say no for Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes no as well?
So Brad Holmes is interesting because if we go 9-8 and we whiff on all of our draft picks, like that might be changing my mind a little bit on Brad Holmes, just because like we said, yeah, the 2024 draft might go down as like one of the worst we've ever had, yeah. Right? So yeah, that might change my mind, but yeah, I don't know. I would say it'll take a lot for me to say Dan Campbell's on the hot seat, and like a 9-8 is probably not going to do it for me, just because we've just been so shit for so long. And I think we learned from like, the Jim Caldwell era where like, you have a good coach and maybe you don't think you're quite where you want to be and you fire him, and then you're just shit for like 10 years after. We are so far ahead right now of where we were in that era of Lions football with Jim Caldwell. So like, I don't know. I think we're not going to fool me once, shame on you, right? Or shame on me, whatever it goes. I don't know. It's a no for me. Now, again, if we win like 4 games and like the team has completely quit and Dan Campbell's lost the locker room, like yeah, something like that technically could happen. It won't, but like that would change my mind. But barring a situation like that, it's just he's done enough for me. He's not on the hot seat. Now next year we'll probably have a different conversation.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say we go 9-8, miss the playoffs. One of them, I think that 100% they would both be on the hot seat. I don't know if they actually that trigger would be pulled and they both get fired. If one gets fired, who deserves more to get fired? If we go 9-8, miss a hot seat or miss the playoffs. But I'm gonna say fact. I'm gonna say if the bottom falls out again this year, it'll be definitely a discussion quite a lot on SportsCenter whether these guys deserve to come back for another year. And I think that you mentioned the draft class. I think that was one of the worst draft classes I've ever seen. And in a time when we definitely needed to hit on a few guys. And so I think that's going to play into. But okay, let's keep moving forward. Fact or fiction number 3. Over under 2.5 Hall of Famers the Lions have on this roster right here, right now.
Oh, wow.
So take a second to think about these. Over under 2.5
Over.
Hall of Famers on this roster.
Over. I'm going over, man. Yeah.
All right, name them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, granted, like I don't want to jinx anything, but like I think it's pretty easy over. I mean, it's Hutch, it's Gibbs, and it's Penei Sewell. Like I mean, granted, a lot of things can happen, but right now, man, I mean, those guys are just on such a collision course with the Hall of Fame, all three of them. So yeah, I think barring any setbacks, and then, dude, who knows, man? Like, I mean, if St. Brown just keeps doing what he's doing for a long enough period, like, and just racking up receptions and yards like he does, he could easily find his way into the Hall of Fame. Like, he's just he is one of those players where like I just wouldn't put it past him. Like what he can do on and off the field, like his training, like I just feel like he is a guy that's longevity is going to be on his side. Like he just keeps his body right. He plays into his 30s. I could certainly see that. So there are players, and then obviously we just talked about Goff, man. So like you throw in those like maybes where like, yeah, maybe each of those guys only has a 30% chance, but then like you parlay that with Hutch and Penei and like Gibbs. If like Gibbs stays on this trajectory, like dude, he's a stats machine, a yards machine, touchdown. I think it's over for sure.
Admittedly, this number probably should have been at a minimum 3.5, because I think that
3.5 would have been tough.
It would have been really tough, because I think there, in my mind, there is one 100% bona fide Hall of Famer on this roster, and that's Penei Sewell. And granted, even that, like, there's a question. We both are very confident he can do it, but I think we need to see this season for him to double check. Okay, he can switch over, go back to the left side of the line where he played in college. Hit the ground running, still be his insane, best lineman in the league self. And then again, it's just kind of double down, bona fide Hall of Famer right there. I think the same can go for Hutch. I think we've seen Hutch be absolutely dominant. I think we need to see one more season, one more healthy season of him being absolutely dominant, and get the guys some damn help, and then we can really see what happens. And then I think like one more healthy year where he's putting up like, flirting with defensive player of the year like he was 2 years ago when he got injured. And he was okay. He was pretty good last year, or really good last year, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily a bona fide Hall of Famer last year. So like I need one more good year, one more stellar year from Hutch in order to put in that. And then the only reason I'm a little more iffy if I was going to like rank those, if I'm like ranking them out loud in terms of, who is most likely to be locked in there, then I think just Gibbs, just because I think it's really hard for running backs to get in the Hall of Fame because of their such short career life cycles. You look at guys like Todd Gurley, who were insane for years, but then retired so early because of degenerative knee issues and chronic arthritis and stuff. And Todd Gurley, if you look back at his numbers, like his numbers were insane. And I don't know. I don't know if you consider Todd Gurley a bona fide Hall of Famer. I think a lot of people would. I think there's an argument for it not to be. So, like, that's the only knock on Jahmyr Gibbs. And then you brought up Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then it's just a whole conversation of, like, longevity. And it really does kind of fall into the same as, like, a Jared Goff, in which, like, you get a Super Bowl and combine it with Amon-Ra St. Brown's long career and putting up the numbers he's been putting up. He continues those, get a Super Bowl in there. Then I think 100% he definitely has an argument. But, he doesn't get a Super Bowl in there. You're just talking about a lot of numbers because he played a lot of years and was kind of like a really safe guy year in and year out. How do you weigh that? He's obviously not necessarily on the same, well, maybe he is, because quarterbacks' careers go longer than receivers. But I was going to say he's not necessarily on the same career path or, timeline as Jared Goff. So it's likely at some point he'll have a new quarterback. I think that could depend on, could change his numbers a little bit depending on who the quarterback comes in. So I think that's a great point. I think really 3.5 probably would have been a really difficult number to put it at. But I'm definitely with you. I'm taking fact on the fact that the Lions have over 2.5 Hall of Famers on roster right now.
Hell yeah.
Okay, last one here, fact or fiction. And we just talked about them for a second. The Lions have the best receiving core in the NFL.
No, it's got to be fiction. I mean, it's a good core for sure, and I think it's up there. I think top 5 easily. I don't know, man. I'm looking at a receiving core like Cincinnati, and I just feel like their 1-2 punch is just a little bit better than ours. I would put Jamar Chase just slightly better than Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think right now for me, T. Higgins it's just a better all around player than Jameson Williams. So like, yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, it's certainly close, but when I'm looking at receiving cores, I've always had Cincinnati's just slightly ahead of ours. So for that alone, I'm going fiction.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fiction here too, because just like kind of going through these, I think there's an argument, because as someone with OCD, like a receiving core to me is perfect when you have an Amon-Ra St. guy, like a guy who can kind of do it all, just a very, very safe, very, a really good guy out to have there a day in and day out. You have a guy that can take the top off, like Jameson Williams, like we have, back in the day, the kind of the perfect take the top off guy was, Tyreek Hill. You have like a Tyreek Hill type of guy. And then you need like an X receiver, or a guy who can just go up and pinpoint a ball, a 6'5" receiver, a Kelvin Johnson. Obviously, there's not Kelvin Johnson's just walking around, but an X receiver that can go up and win 50-50 balls. And I think we're kind of missing that right now with the Lions. You have obviously Amon-Ra and Jameson, but then you need Isaac Tesla, who is 6 foot plus to be that X receiver, and he definitely hasn't been that. You can look at the Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. I think that could definitely be up there with the competitive with the top receiving core. You already mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals. I personally think Seattle has an argument to be one of the best receiving cores right now with Puka Nacua and JSN, with JSN's coming out party last year. I think Detroit's just kind of missing that X receiver, and just needs Isaac Tesla to jump up and be a better than average receiver. And then I think they're definitely top 3. I think you can make that argument if he's able to do that.
You just blew my mind. Like Puka, I think were you talking about the Rams, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, that duo?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Excuse me.
I said because if Puka and JSN were on the same team, like that's just cancel the league. Like that's just
Cooper Kupp and JSN also. Like I think that's also an argument that like those 2 guys should definitely be up there as well.
Yeah, I would certainly. Yeah, the Rams duo right now I'm putting ahead. And yeah, you mentioned Dallas. I can't believe that didn't come to mind, dude. Like George Pickens is a monster, dude. And then CeeDee Lamb. I would still say CeeDee Lamb and ARSB are like they're so similar. Like they do different things, but like they're I would say 1A 1B is if you were like comparing the two. So yeah, personally I probably have Amon-Ra just a little bit ahead of CD, but like dude, CD 2 years ago just led the league in receiving. He was a beast. So it's tough, but yeah, the fact that we're having the conversation is always a good thing. I still think Amon-Ra and Jameson are one of the best 1-2 punches. And I'm so happy that they're on our team.
Yeah, and with all that being said, we know what Amon-Ra is and what he can do. Last year, Jameson, I think, played better than a lot of people expected. Like, we knew he could do that. I think last year he had a really good year. We need to see it. We need to see it 2 years in a row to show it wasn't just kind of a 1 year bump where, you kind of caught teams off guard by being, better than maybe a lot of teams thought you could be. So we got to see it be replicated in year 2, or not year 2 for him, but in a second year. And then, like we said, we need Isaac Tesla to step up and be that X receiver that kind of just can go up and pinpoint a ball. Jared can kind of throw up a fade in the corner, and which he credit to him, he did last year. He had a number of just fades in the corner of the end zone for touchdowns. So we need him to do that and a little bit more moving forward. And then maybe this will be more of a fact. So, okay, so Jared Goff, not a Hall of Famer. Dan Campbell, not on the hot seat. Lions have over 2.5 Hall of Famers. And the Detroit Lions do not have the best receiving core in the NFL. That is our fact or fiction. Thank you for playing.
Yeah. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Grit iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The gridiron report where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow.